Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. Welcome back. I am here with my co-host, JC. Hey, JC.
Wendy, it's a pleasure to see you. How are you today?
You know, rocking and rolling, waiting for 2025 when everything hits the fan, because new president, new laws, new changes, just like with every, change in any government figure. So it will be interesting for sure. We've already experienced some legal changes already, and we're not even out of November. With that said, hey, I want to talk about bees today. A little bit of honey, maybe, a little bit of stinging. I want to talk about the Beekeeper's Guide to Transformative Leadership. We have two really cool guests here today. We have Katie Desiderio and Mike Freno. How you doing?
Great, Wendy.
Great, Wendy.
JC, it's great to be here.
So you guys wrote a book about the Beekeeper's Guide to Transformative Leadership. I'm so excited to hear about this. I'm a little afraid of bees, but love them at the same time, because we literally cannot have life without them. So before we jump in and talk about that, Katie, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, thanks, Wendy, for the intro. I'm Katie Desiderio. I'm a faculty member in the School of Business at Moravian University, and I also have my own consulting company. I do a lot of work in the leadership development space and a lot with women in leadership. And, most recently, and now an author and keynote speaker, along with Mike, in kind of thinking about how the book, The Beekeeper, Pollinating Your Organization for Transformative Growth, has just taken off. And so we are just so excited to be here with you today.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that it's taken off. It's hard being an author and, going, okay, is somebody going to buy this? Are they going to like it? And so congratulations for that.
Thank you.
How about you, Mike? Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I'm Michael Freno. I work in the healthcare sector in leadership development. Been doing that for over 25 years in sales, marketing, and leadership development. Katie and I met through our actual doctoral program in organizational learning and leadership. And, we've been publishing in the leadership development space for, over a decade now. And, the Beekeeper is kind of our latest journey into kind of storytelling and leadership development and helping organizations think about their people and culture.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So now I'm going to just dive in and start asking questions, because, where did you come up with the concept of the Beekeeper?
Yeah. Mike, do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. And Katie chime in, but Katie mentioned she does some consulting work, and I was also doing some work in Chicago. We were both there. We live thousands of miles apart. And we were like, hey, let's get together. We hadn't seen each other in a while. And so we went and grabbed some Chicago pizza. We were in Chicago. And, from there, we started talking about, hey, what could a leadership book look like? Storytelling was, really resonating in organizations. And we're like, how do we make sure that we, don't write a traditional book, but think about how storytelling can play such a big role in our story. So we decided to write a fable. And literally on the back of the pizza box, we still have the pizza box. We have kind of an outline of kind of our key concepts and, pictures of growth and flowers and bees. And bees are, responsible for all things growth around us. How do we capture the essence here? And as true researchers, we kind of left there thinking that we have to do some more research. And it turned out that, 18 days later, since we did that kind of dinner in Chicago, it ended up being UN World Bee Day, and it hit our social media feed. And we were like, this is kind of too much of a universe moment. So we ended up going out exploring and doing research with beekeepers and in true Katie Mike fashion.
That's amazing. So you were literally doing research with beekeepers.
Yeah, we did. We have pictures of us. We do this when we go out in our keynotes of us separately and then together in full beekeeping suits. Out in hives. And, we came with all these concepts of the transferable skills. And I think we were met with a lot of skepticism of really, how are you going to make these alignments? And as we kind of discerned and went through, effective leaders really do think about growth, right? They keep others' growth at the heart of what they do. And so as we kind of thought about how this story would come to life, in the cover of the book, the second E, and I'm showing all of you, but for those of you that are listening and have the book, right, the second E is dotted and falls off right at the end of the story, because we make this alignment that beekeepers help create a safe environment, right, for the bees to do their job, to pollinate. And we invite readers to become beekeepers, right, BE, and choosing who and how they want to be, right? And so there's a lot of, underlying lens check moments there when we think about those opportunities.
I love it. JC, some stats he wants to share about bees.
Bees. Bees, they pollinate 75% of flowering plants and 35% of all crops. It truly emphasizes the importance of collaboration when you think about bees. And similarly in business, teamwork, efficiency, they're all crucial for success. At the end of the day, companies with highly engaged employees who thrive in a collaborative and purpose-driven culture, they see a 21% higher profitability compared to those with disengaged teams or hives with unorganized bees. Back to you.
Yeah, unorganized, unmotivated, unengaged, and it's all because of leadership, right? Or they hired the wrong person. For sure. But thank you for explaining why the second E on the cover of the book was different. I figured that was the reason, but I was like, I don't want to dig into it because I want them to tell our audience and me. But I immediately saw that when I looked at your book. I was like, ooh, that E means something different. So thank you for explaining that. With that said, we are going to wrap up episode 1 of our 5-part series, and we have so many more questions to ask you. For our listeners, make sure that you are checking out the website, Aurora Training Advantage. We have a lot of really great webinars coming up, including information about navigating FLSA overtime updates that just changed recently over the weekend, as a matter of fact. And we even have information about Communication 101, collaborating with clarity. So go to auroratrainingadvantage.com/webinars to discover all the webinar options. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.